Afternoon. This video is documentation in regards to how to change the HID low beam for the R171 chassis headlights. So right off the bat, if you can go ahead and twist to remove the low beam rear housing cap, you might actually have just a little bit limited room to pull the wires in the case the HID grommet is already present, and then some of the wires need to be loomed further into so that you have enough slack to pull them out. But throughout this process, just kind of bear with me. So once you open up the rear housing cap, you actually have an internal H7 connector, which most likely the HID bulb and then the ballast connection has already spade connectors connected to it. What you'll simply be doing is undoing these connectors by just simply pulling them out, which you'll have a positive and a negative connector according to the wires, yellow for positive, black for negative. So once you have these spade connectors pulled out, you're almost there. So go ahead and place this on the side because you'll be needing this when replacing the HID bulb. However, the other thing I want you to kind of pay attention would be the H7 locking mechanism for the bulb. So the projector actually has I guess a metal bracket piece that secures the HID bulb onto it. So you see that there's two Phillips screw holding this thing that once you twist to unlock, that these can be removed rather easily. So if you have a hard time to twist to unlock this flange on the metal bracket, then you can easily get a Phillips screw and loosen these screws just a little bit so that you have enough space. However, most of the times I find it that you can just kind of maneuver with your own hand to twist to unlock. So once you twist, the flange is pretty much tilted in a way that you can remove the bracket. Once you have this done, this is actually one of the parts that you're gonna kind of watch out for, being the case that we slightly straighten out these bracket to fit the HID bulb, being the case these are originally fitting the halogen bulb. So one more time, once you remove the HID bulb, you'll be left with the HID components out of it. You have the canvas ballast and you have the HID bulb right here. Again, since the HID bulb wires needs to loom out to connect to the ballast, you'll have a grommet piece that's kind of protecting anything from moisture entering into the housing. However, when replacing bulbs, you'll have to remove the grommet, of course, to loom the HID bulb out. So that being said, be mindful not to touch the glass bulb chamber because your oils on your fingers will create hot spots. But if you have a glove or anything like that, that'd be also wise to use. But when removing, you'll start peeling off the silicone on the rear housing cap so that you can pull pull back all the HID bulb wirings through it. So you'll be left at a point where you won't be able to pull this through because of the metal bracket, which what I recommend is just to simply undo the HID bulb from the ballast. The male and female, easy to undo. Can't go wrong with that. You'll be left with a 9006 connector that you need to be undoing to free up the bulb from the ballast. You've gone ahead and done that. So the ballast is out of the equation. Place that safely on the side. Now you're only dealing with the HID bulb. So at this point, from my understanding, you can loom the bulb this way away from, I guess, the outside in. That will be a little bit easier to kind of maneuver things around. So one more time, once you peeled all the silicone off, you can kind of tuck this in through the drilled hole. And then the rest of the wires should follow suit. And you should have enough space to kind of pull them all through. And you'll be left with the 9006 connector barely being able to pull through right here. So if that's the case, my recommendation is that, from my understanding, the outer casing of this is able to detach. So I'm going to try to do that right now. So you kind of pull this from the sides. Be very careful not to break it, of course, but it has some flex point that it can do before giving in. So I'm kind of taking this apart right now. Alright, so I removed this outer clipping piece, which kind of fastens the pin wire so it doesn't slip out. This should be enough to clear it. So it barely clears. I got the HID bulb loomed from the cap. This can be easily reattached, but I'm going to do that when I'm replacing the bulb a bit later. So again, you remove the ballast of the bulb out of the headlights, and then now the process of replacing them. So because you want enough slack, you might want to pull in just enough wires for the spade connectors, and then you'll have a replacement bulb. Actually, before I get to that, if you have a replacement bulb, you'll be transferring the metal bracket because this is needed to secure the HID bulb. But in order just to replace it, you can understand that you could just slip this out and then just kind of stuff the grommet and wirings through it and loom the whole bulb out. The same process as I've done looming throughout the rear housing cap. So once you kind of place the bracket on a new replacement bulb, keep in mind how it sits, because this little flange will sit right next to the HID H7 little notch. So be mindful of that so that this sits the correct place. Again, you'll see that this area is rounded, whereas this actually has a flap hitting where it's a bit indentured or on the HID bulb notch. That way you have the correct orientation of this metal bracket plate. You'll have some little gap right here, that's okay, but as long as you have this flap over the HID bulb H7 notch, that's the main, I guess, the key point that you want to look out for. So again, once you have loomed the bracket to the new bulb, the whole process of placing the bulb back is just the same. So one more time, you have this piece, again from the new bulb, removed from the 9006 connector because you want to clear your rear housing cap. So be mindful how everything sits. This is on the outside, this is on the inside. So what it is of course you need this on the outside. So this is so mainly you don't do this everything backwards. That way you have everything pointed and oriented the correct way so you can make your connections back again. So I'm just kind of rinsing and repeat the whole process I've done. So taking them out might be a lot easier, but might need a little specific angle to place these in. So bear with me. Alright, so that took a little bit of maneuvering. So I'm able to loom this through again. So you'll be looming again the male and female connectors again through the hole. Once you've done that, you'll be pulling the HID bulb, the replacement that you have, it won't have a silicone anymore. So you can understand that the grommet has two lips. You need to have the plastic plate in between the lips so it'll have a better seal. So you got the outer lip on it secured, no problem. And you still got the inner lip kind of securing around it. I'm just going to give you a rough overview right now, but once you have them secured, it is our greatest recommendation to add silicone around the new gasket so that you limit any moisture from entering, just like what we've done for your initial headlight setup. So once you've done that, follow exactly the same process. Of course, the spade connector is color coded, so be very, very careful when plugging in back to your internal A7 connector, yellow versus black. You want red to yellow, positive, no problem. And then you want black to black because it's negative. HIDs are polarity sensitive. Make sure that you have it firmly on the contact place, because if you place them somewhere else, you'll find that your low beams won't work at all. This again, pretty much plug in, clip down. So one more time, it's just like what you've done before. If you need more wires to slack, you can kind of pull them through the grommet. But once you have enough slack, you'll position them one more time this way, so that the flanges pretty much insert in. Once you have that in, you'll twist to lock. So you'll twist to lock. If you have a little more difficulty getting this perfectly locked, you can use a plier to kind of close in this, which in this instance I don't need one, so I'm just going to kind of manually close this in. But again, with pliers, you can kind of gently push these ends in just so that everything locks appropriately. Once you have that done, same thing. Lock it, connect the rest. Again, with the ballast, can't go wrong. Male and female, so this connects to this. Oops. And then this connects to this. Be mindful for the pin inside, making sure that it hits the slots, not hitting outside. And lastly, the 9006 connector. This is also polarity sensitive. On the ballast, you should have some etching, positive and negative. Follow that. So red for positive, black for negative. Since positive is on the inside, I'm going to make sure that the positive is on the inside. That way everything's polarity correct from the internal H7 connector to the 9006 mouth. Once this is done, pretty much you're good to go with the replacement. And you've replaced it, tested the HID looping bulb before, I guess, moving on. I do overlook this process, but this is just easy enough just to snap right back on. So kind of don't forget about this too. So this is a brief overview of how to change the HID H7 bolt for the R171 chassis. Hopefully this is informative enough for you to reference from. The next video I'll be covering will be the signal lights. Thank you so much for your time.